Hey there everybody, I'm that punk Trekkie that your parents warned you about, and today we're going to be talking about what happened behind the scenes in Star Trek, the original series. These are facts that I've uncovered, so let's get started. Alright, number one is Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy, and she was head of the parent company for Star Trek, the original series, called Desilu Productions. She kept Star Trek, the original series, from actually going under during its first season. The series was finally canceled, of course, in its third season. It was after 79 episodes, and of course, in syndication. If you can't tell, it gained immense popularity. That's why we have things like this circulating around. Alright, now that we know that, there's some things about Gene Roddenberry you need to learn. Gene Roddenberry initially casted his girlfriend, who we all know as Majel Barrett, and who is later his wife, as Captain Pike's number one, or his first officer, in the series pilot. Now, the NBC executives, however, did not like the fact that she was such a strong woman character and thought that audience members could not relate to her in any sort of way. Now, that wasn't the only thing they didn't like. So, NBC actually asked Gene Roddenberry to get rid of the guy with the pointy ears. Because they're worried about his sadistic appearance. Luckily, Roddenberry refused to cut Spock. There's some questions about, necessarily how they did Star Trek and what they all did with the information. Now, a big thing that's always circulated is the star dates that Kirk uses. Now, the star dates that Kirk mentions in the captain's log each week in TOS were actually not based on our current calendar dates. The TOS dates were just created to kind of give the illusion that the show took place in the future. Now, later Star Treks like Next Gen or Voyager or DS9 attempted to contend with the star dates. Leonard Nimoy. Sorry, I'm just going through the list. Some other cool things about Star Trek is that Leonard Nimoy created so many different things for Vulcan culture during TOS, and one of the things he created was the neck pitch during The Enemy Within, in which Spock was supposed to hit the evil Kirk over the head with the butt of a phaser, but Nimoy decided to go with the hand-related Vulcan concepts and use the pinch instead. Now there's so many different characters in Trek, and one of them that's very popular is Chekhov. And Chekhov was actually brought in for a very random reason. During the same time period, there was this popular show called The Monkees. If you don't know the Hey Hey We're the Monkees, that's like the complete incorrect harmony to that. Oh God, I suck. The Hey Hey We're the Monkees sort of thing, that's exactly what it came from, was the show The Monkees. And as they were just beginning to get a loyal following, they exploded the television, essentially. Not actually exploded, that was figurative. All you Vulcans out there, that was a very figurative thing. They exploded onto the TV sets, and so, to combat it, he created Pavel Chekhov. Now, Chekhov, was also representing the Russian culture who first got into space. So he was supposed to look like Davy Jones, but with a Russian accent. So there was so many different things, and of course you hear Chekhov talk about Russia all the time, and you hear Bones talk about the fact that he's a doctor, not a blank. So this variation to do with doing something outside of his medical expertise, and it's one of the many lines that has become like a permanent part of the pop culture lexicon. However, the concept actually originated from a 1933 film called The Kendall Murder Case, which starred William Powell and Mary Astor. In the film, the character Dr. Dorminus utters the lines, "I'm a doctor, not a magician. I'm a doctor, not a detective. I'm the city butcher, not a detective." Bones McCoy had many variations through the Star Trek TV film series and definitely sort of made that line his own. Now, I'm bouncing around from topic to topic here, but the premise of Star Trek, if we get down to it, is that the world is in harmony. Thus is why man is looking to the stars. Roddenberry had this notion of Sulu, another well-known character representing the entirety of Asia. He didn't want a last name tied to the specific Asian nation, so he saw the Sulu Sea, which the thought had a nice vague sound. Sulu's first name, Hikaru, wasn't even introduced in Star Trek 6, although it was introduced in 1981 in a Star Trek novel called The Entropy Effect. Incidentally, it's the same book where it gives Uhura her first name. If you didn't know anything about the original series, one thing you really need to know is that the budgets were like super tight. Of course, Lucille Ball bailed them out multiple times, made sure that it kept going. And fans like myself or you, if we were back there in that time, we would have probably been out there going against the grain and protesting. A lot of women protested the end of the original series. But yes, budgets were tight, so teleportation, or beaming, was created because the budget didn't allow expensive shots of spaceships landing on planets. So the shots that you do see of the Galileo landing on planets was decently expensive, quite like CGI is today. Now, bouncing back to the actors, when the original Star Trek became like this big hit, good old Leonard Nimoy's dad, who worked as a barber, offered customers a spot cut at his barber shop. Also on the line of actors, William Shatner was unable to do the Star Trek Vulcan salute. Originally a hand gesture of Jewish denominations, and he required fishing line to tie his fingers in the now famous salute. I'm very lucky that I am capable to do it on both hands. Yeah. I did plan a sequel to the series of Star Trek called Star Trek Phase 2. Made it into pre-production, had 13 episodes written before getting binned in 1977. Number 13. Okay, alright, here's where we conspire. Alright, everybody have their tinfoil hats? I have mine. We're good. Okay, in Star Trek, Spock was supposed to be a female character, but was changed during the show's production. So number one was really supposed to be like the Spock-like character. If you read any of the comics, the early Voyages comics, she loves the teachings of Surak. She mentions Vulcan teachings a lot, and she's just fantastic. I mean, top-notch woman. Now getting back to the actors. George Takei missed 9 episodes of the second season because he was away filming the Green Berets. The character of Chekhov was created in his absence, and Takei's lines were given to Walter Koenig. According to Takei, he was infuriated, was ready to despise Koenig when he returned, but the two ended up becoming close friends. I love their friendship. Everybody who's friends on in Trek, like, have, like, the best bonds ever, and I love them so much. Going back to the transporter beam, which was like the cheap way out, the shimmer was actually a film of aluminum powder being blown into the air by an industrial fan under a bright spotlight. Just saying, there was no movie magic. Well, it's kind of movie magic, but no major movie magic. There was aluminum, you guys. Aluminium. It was just aluminium. Okay, so it was a few shows into the original series production before the red shirts appeared, just saying. However, with Uhura and Mr. Scott being seen command gold, in practice the gold uniforms often appeared to be apple green, which is kind of attributed to the interference with television signals. So you guys, make sure your TVs are okay. However, in the command tunic, it was actually green, but under most lighting conditions on the set, it appeared gold. The true color can be seen in Kirk's special wraparound tunic, and to some extent in special occasion dress uniforms, of which were both made out of other materials which reflected the light differently. The uniforms are dry clean, but the actual material tended to shrink, so they constantly had to be altered, which is why they often looked really short on the actors. I guess this is another case of, is it blue? Is it gold? What is it? Like that stupid dress a couple of years ago. Is it green? Is it gold? What is it? Please let me know what color you think Kirk looks best in. Was it the green or was it the gold? Speaking of the uniforms, the original Arrowhead badge worn by the crew of the Enterprise was only meant to be an insignia for the Enterprise. If you notice any guest Starfleet characters, they all wear different symbols. And the Commodores wore a starburst or a sun insignia. So, yeah, that's just the thing. Now speaking of the uniforms, Kirk's green uniform. Why was the wraparound uniform developed? Why did they switch from the nice Kirkian uniform to the Kirkian? Oh my gosh, the nice yellow uniform to the green wraparound. It was because he tended to gain weight during the season, and his Spanx couldn't hold it in. Alright, so if the series had been renewed for a 4th season, the producers plan to bring back Koloff from Star Trek The Trouble with Tribbles, you know, the guy that has all the tribbles and everything, as a reoccurring villain. The 4th season would have also seen Roderick C. Carmel playing Harry Mudd for the 3rd time, and an introduction to Joanna, who's McCoy's doctor. I'm so sorry we didn't get to see that. Now, also speaking on who played what character and the characters, Gene Roddenberry purposefully made Uhura and Nurse Chapel's, especially for Nichelle Nichols and Majel Barrett, respectively, who are both having affairs with Gene Roddenberry. Get it, man. Nichols broke off her affair with Roddenberry not long after the series began, though Barrett would eventually marry the series creator. They remained together until his death. Now going into the characters themselves, Kirk's nickname from Bones actually stems from the term sawbones, which is often used as slang for a surgeon, particularly a naval or military doctor, but also appears in westerns, which DeForest Kelley and Gene Roddenberry and other members of the cast and crew were in prior to Star Trek. The term refers to a process of amputation or a distressingly common response to an inordinate number of problems until very recently. Kirk did call McCoy Sawbones once in Star Trek A Piece of the Action in 1968. In original scripts for Star Trek Shore Leave 1966, Sulu called McCoy Sawbones. Now, for Spock, his skin color was originally thought to have been red, which was a thing that they were going to do, but it would have meant extra hours in makeup for Leonard Nimoy, and fortunately for him, an early makeup test showed that the red color appeared to be black on black and white TVs. As most TVs in the 1960s were mostly black and white, the idea was dropped. Speaking of TVs, another famous show, The Andy Griffith Show, the sets were actually used for several different things, at least on 2 occasions. Miri, Star Trek Miri in 1966, and Star Trek The City on the Edge of Forever in 1967. And you can see the exterior of the Mayberry set, and that's as Kirk walks past Edith's home, and they pass an easily recognizable courthouse, Floyd's barber shop, Emmett's repair shop, and the grocery. Now, this is an easy way, like they did with the using of the Andy Griffith set, that they made actual art pieces in the original series of Star Trek. The alien artwork on wall hangings were mostly discarded protective styrofoam shipping box liners, and from tape recorders used by fellow Desilu Paramount Mission Impossible. So it's stuff from Mission Impossible, and it's also stuff from styrofoam things. And they are all spray painted various colors and ranged into various combined forms. I think that's really interesting. Now Leonard Nimoy and Mark Leonard played Sarek. Even though they played father and son, Mark Leonard was actually only 6 years older than Leonard Nimoy. We discussed earlier how Chekhov was supposed to be like a retaliation to the monkeys, but it was also an attempt to reach out and expand the show's younger, particularly female demographics. It's really interesting. At one point, he was supposed to be modeled after the Beatles and the Monkees. Well, he was modeled after the Monkees, but he was supposed to also have a British accent. They decided to not do that. Oh, now this is really fun. I love the mirror mirrorverse of Trek. And due to budget constraints, the element of parallel or mirror Earth planets was used on several occasions to keep down set and makeup costs because they were poor. Everyone in Trek was poor. In several episodes, prop beverage bottles were modified from existing alcohol bottles. Oberlin whiskey bottles were Cuervo Gold 1800 tequila bottles. Bottles used for Saurian brandy were George Dickel Tennessee Sour Mash whiskey carafes. Because everybody was poor. Both pilots for Star Trek were the only episodes not filmed at the current day Paramount Studio lot in Hollywood. They were filmed in present day Sony Pictures Culver Studios in Culver City, California. Early on in season 2, to save time in later episodes, the producers took aside George Takei and Walter Koenig and sat them facing the bridge's view screen with the camera directly behind them. While the camera was running, they were asked to carry on as normal, pressing buttons, etc. for a few minutes. George was told to turn and face the camera and look worried. Then Walter was told to do the same. Then they were both told to face the camera and look worried. We don't really know how often these shots were edited to the subsequent shows, but again, to save money. So to keep his mouth nice and moist, Leonard Nimoy would actually suck on a lollipop between takes. And when the scene was taking place off the ship, he would often hide the lollipop inside his tricorder before they filmed. So I have like this constant headcanon that Spock would just hide lollipops in his tricorder and like be on like some alien planet when he's supposed to be using his tricorder, and he just pops it open, takes a bunch of lollipops out and like sticks them in his mouth, and is just like sitting there sucking on a lollipop because reasons. So those are some things that I learned about Star Trek the original series that I had no clue about. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you beam me up into your subscribe list, so boldly hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please let me know down in the comments section. And as always, please donate just a tiny bit of your money, a quarter, 50 cents, who knows, to the Elton John AIDS Foundation and the Joey Ramone for a cure for lymphoma cancer. As always, I am that punk Trekkie that your parents warned you about. Live long and punk rock.